We're going to profile Zola with the last letter from her lover in Stillwater. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Becks Perfect, and this is Offscreen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Welcome to Offscreen, and why Ayana, Van Connor. We were just rattling that boom just then. How you doing?
We can never decide. We can never. There's not like a planned system. But some weeks we have it, some weeks we don't. It's just one of those things. I'm good. How was your holiday, my dear?
Well, that's the thing. I was just going to blame that on my holiday. I've been a bit rusty since I've been back. My holiday was fine. Let's just say Wales is really nice and slow, which is what you probably need for a week off.
Instagram friendly as well, evidently.
Lots of fields. Yeah, so that's all I'm going to say about that.
I think I saw a pottery. Did you have a pottery class? I saw it there somewhere.
I would tell you this story about this pottery class. In fact, I can tell it to you very quickly. It was a rainy day. We didn't have much to do, so we'd booked in a last-minute pottery class between 12 and 1. Sweet old guy helped us throw down the clay on the wheel. By 12:08, we were done.
No Patrick Swayze to me more moments.
Absolutely not. He kind of did it all for us. So, that was interesting, but it made for a very funny hour. But yeah, I'm excited to be talking movies again. I feel like I've had like a little break from it. We're back. We've got some great releases this week.
We've got some bonkers ones this week, haven't we? Some very, very strange ones.
Yeah, very strange ones. But I mean, like next week, there's the big Ryan Reynolds film out. And I think this week is kind of like, and last week we had Suicide Squad, which I still haven't seen yet. I don't know if you were a fan.
I quite like Suicide Squad. I don't think it's like top 3 James Gunn or anything. I think it's his biggest, boldest, most him movie yet.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like one of his best ones. I still think his best movie, funnily enough, is Slither, the 2006 creature feature with Nathan Fillion and Elizabeth Banks. I think is incredible. Second to that, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, then Guardians of the Galaxy, then I can't even. The James Gunn list is too difficult for me.
Yeah,
but
fair enough,
I would recommend it. Jungle Cruise is fine 3-star film as well. Like that's enjoyable enough. But I don't think either are quite as nutso as the first movie we're going to talk about this week. So this seems like the kind of thing you'll enjoy talking about, and you're better suited to. You're a bit more show busy than I am.
Oh, so, I was going to say why? Because it's a stripper movie.
oh God, yeah. No, way did I mean that one. No, because it's you'll probably be a bit more familiar with the idea of a viral Twitter story than I would. So tell us about Zola, Miss Perfect, which also just happens to involve strippers. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Zola is the story of a lady called Zola who was a Detroit waitress, and she has this suddenly, like, I can only describe it as a female bromance all of a sudden with Stefani, who's played by Riley Keough, and they have this kind of like, it's almost like a bit sort of Pulp Fiction-y, the way it's kind of positioned at the beginning, where they're like, oh my God, this is like, bring, this is my most amazing friend ever. And it's very poppy in the way that it's kind of pulls itself together on screen very quickly.
You know what I thought of? I thought this is that moment from Step Brothers, but done for hipsters. Did we just become best friends? It's that version. I think it's that, but for hipsters.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And essentially, Stefani convinces Zola that they start sort of stripping in Detroit, and she says, look, come with me down to Florida because we've heard that we can make loads of money stripping down to Florida. And they jump in the car. It looks like an amazing kind of road trip and heading down to this, like, I suppose, like, haven for them for stripping money. But what it actually turns out to be is like this 48-hour chaotic journey with a pimp, Stefani, and her idiotic boyfriend in tow as well.
Hey. Last month, I went dancing at this cute spot in Florida where my roommate's girl made like 5 G's a night. Because of my
We just met yesterday and you're already trying to take hoe trips together?
Be ready by 2. Hey!
You want to hear a story about how me and this fell out? It's kind of long, but it's full of suspense.
You want to go somewhere with me?
That's my place. Shut it so.
I adored this movie. I thought this was so good.
Yeah.
Like, this is every bit the movie Spring Breakers promised me it was and clearly wanted to be. Funnily enough, this was at one point meant to be a James Franco movie. Like, he was going to direct this.
Dave Franco's produced it, I think.
I think it's Dave Franco. That would be because it's obviously held over from those days. So the way this went is, I think this was in 2015. So it was 148 tweet long thread that detailed this story, and then obviously got investigated by, was it Vanity Fair, who found that there was some slight embellishments, but it actually was mostly true. Like most of the details were actually quite on the money, with one or two little quirks here and there. And then, of course, James Franco, I think 2016, sets out to direct this movie, because at that point he's kind of hot on the heels of Spring Breakers, so guess what vibe he's going for?
Yeah.
We then go through 2 years of, is James Franco a monster, before we start to think, yeah, James Franco's a monster. And then he loses the film. It gets taken to Janiza Bravo, whose work I'm not familiar with. She's a Panamanian Brooklyn filmmaker who directed Lemon, which I have never seen.
No, I've never seen
So, no. And big fan, though, because evidently she's got the goods here. This is great. I thought this has really got some swagger.
Yeah, that's exactly the right word, swagger. Like, one of my favourite moments of this movie is actually right at the beginning when when Zola and Stefani are texting each other, and they're both like lying on their beds or their sofas, and they're
It's the
reading out their
isn't
text
it?
messages. Yeah, and it's so funny. And God, I have to say, Riley Keough in this surprised me as to how good she was.
And now that's a thing, because I was reading an interview with, I think, Taylor Page, who plays Zola, and she was praising Riley Keough, and she said that it was very intentional. She's playing this in blackface, like not an actual literal blackface, but as far as she in her head
so
is concerned. Yeah, she's playing this as a grotesque caricature, complete with, and I'd never heard this term before, black scent. And I was like, okay, that absolutely lets me see that movie on a whole other level, because now... Yeah, I mean, I already thought she was terrific in it. Like, when is Riley Keough not? I think she's a really underappreciated talent, but I think this is a really great movie.
Yeah, I do as well. And I think it's like an hour and a half long. It's like the perfect kind of time for it to be an impactful, wild ride for you to then suddenly go... And it just like, it smacks you in the face. That's what I'd say about it.
Does,
like, you know, it's like a stripper smacking you in the face. And really, I just think, you know what? I reviewed this on the radio this morning, and I picked it as my wild card. And I think, you know, and I was like, because you can go and see, and we're going to talk about Stillwater next, and that's the big one with Matt Damon. But I was like, actually, go watch Zola, because it's a hell of a lot of fun.
So, yeah, we should then get to Stillwater, which I worry is going to kill our vibe entirely now, Bex.
Well, you've seen it, I haven't, and I don't know if you're going to save me from bothering.
I'm absolutely going to save you from bothering. More for what the film is, even, I think, than what it is. So, Tom McCarthy, you know, wrote and directed this. Now, Tom McCarthy, you know, guy who gave us Spotlight.
Yes.
So, you know, there's a hell of a pedigree. If you're the guy who made Spotlight, and you're making a movie very loosely based on the Amanda Knox case, you kind of have some expectations to deal with. So here's the plot. Matt Damon is a middle-aged, sort of over-the-hill American. Sorry, not even an American. He's what you describe as a American, if you know what I mean. He's American. You know, he's got a neck beard. He's out of work because the immigrants took his job. He's American.
Yeah. And
he travels to France, where his college-age daughter, played by Abigail Breslin, who's always weird whenever you see her now as an adult, still to this day. Like, I mean, I still remember that awful Dirty Dancing remake. She has been wrongfully incarcerated for the murder of her girlfriend, whilst, I think, studying abroad in France. And he starts to look into the case. She starts to lose her faith. The question is, how can he find the crucial evidence that can overturn this wrongful conviction before she finally loses her will to see it through herself?
And that's how I felt for a really long time. Powerless and forgotten. And that makes living really hard. You know what I mean?
But you're innocent. So we gotta keep fighting.
It doesn't matter that I'm innocent, Dad. It's not about justice. It's about finding peace.
Okay, so I haven't seen this movie, but what I have done is read the blog post from Amanda Knox, who has basically said, you cannot take my story, say it's based on the murderous Amanda Knox. She's like, FYI, I was acquitted, but you seem to omit that from the way you're looking at it. And she's just, I think this has kind of been the straw that's broken the camel's back for her, of going, yet again, someone is using me as a scapegoat for their movie's synopsis.
In recent years, this has become known in news media circles as the Monica Lewinsky problem.
Yeah. She even referenced that.
In fact, Amanda Knox specifically referenced that. And we have actually got, incidentally, the next American Crime Story debuting later this year. The poster came out this week with Beanie Feldstein starring as Monica Lewinsky, which I'm sure is going to be incredible.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, imagine. I'm there day one for that.
Yeah,
100%. It sounds incredible. But no, this is absolutely disgusting to sit through. Like, if you did not know that there was any reality to this whatsoever, you just watched the film, like, this is a competently made, by the numbers, American Abroad, righteous man, wrongfully incarcerated thriller. To which you'd think, it's marginally above average. It's well made. Damon's very good in it, in that way that Damon sort of by standard is. I mean, it's not Martian Matt Damon. It's not where he's really swinging for something. I don't think anybody involved really expected this to be an awards contender, but the problem is most of us know that reality. Most of us know what really happened. And there is a point in the movie in which, and I was sat with friends in the screening watching this, and we kind of all just turned to each other at a point in this story being like, I'm sorry, what the hell is happening right now? What? Hang on, what? It feels like that moment in Inglourious B-Word in which they kill Hitler. And you're like, okay, I didn't realize we were watching that kind of movie. You've kind of just strung me along for a bit, and then needlessly taken a swerve, but you've not done it for specific, cartoonish reasons. You've done it for what you think is entertainment, and that is abhorrent. Wow. I didn't know that anybody had the nerve to do that in mainstream film anymore.
And you know what? I did see the early reviews come out of Cannes as well, and people were not impressed. And, this was a big hitter at Cannes. Everyone was like, Matt Damon, da-da-da. And I think...
Tom McCarthy, Matt Damon, what's not... It's on the box, isn't it?
Yeah,
right there?
Exactly. And it's kind of like, I think they've massively hit a bum note with this, and it's just... It's faltered. And I do feel for Amanda Knox, because, she's like, I am forever trying to say, don't call this the Amanda Knox story. This is, if you're going to do it anything, do it just for Meredith Kircher, and who was killed by Rudy Guede. It's not her anymore. She's like, and she can't ever move on. And I really feel for her on that. And, and I wasn't exactly Team Foxy Noxy when it all came out, in the news, but she's been acquitted. It's kind of like guilty until proven innocent, but then she's still guilty in some respects. And it's very much kind of media support, I say in inverted commas, does not help. So I'm with you. I think go see Zola. Don't worry about this one this weekend.
Of the two, yeah, definitely. That's the thing. If you want an above average movie, then fine. But I think a lot of people are going to struggle to disconnect. Welcome back to Off Screen, and keeping you in the confines of the good old-fashioned multiplex. Let's talk about something a little drippier, we'll say. Let's talk about The Last Letter from Your Lover. This is based on a Jojo Moyes book, is it? Is Jojo Moyes who wrote Speak to You?
And do you know what? I'm just going to say it, right? When you text me about this, you didn't text me words, you text me emojis, which was the crying and laughing emoji and the being sick emoji. And I was like, oh, here we go. This is what I'm going to watch. So, before anyone else makes a judgment from those emojis, let's run this through with you. So top line, you've got Felicity Jones and also Shailene Woodley.
I just want to say, I love how forensic could be in there. No, before we do this, let's say this by the numbers. Stage what you got?
Yes, exactly. Well, I'm trying to kind of keep it prejudged at the moment. So, yeah, let me go with this. Otherwise, I'll lose the plot as well.
God, drill commander me. Mission debrief me. Come on.
I'm on it. So, yeah, parallel kind of timelines in this movie. Mm-hmm. One is set in modern day where Felicity Jones plays a journalist. She's tasked with finding out a previous person that worked at her publication has passed away. They want to kind of pay tribute to her. So she goes into the archives to kind of find out what she can about this woman. What she discovers is this trove of love letters, which essentially unveils a mystery of a forbidden secret affair. And that is where the other timeline comes in with Shailene Woodley's character and how that intertwines in this Jojo Moyes, as you can imagine, absolute weepy of a movie.
I'm Ellie Howarth from the London Chronicle.
Everything's ready for you.
Spectacular. While I was researching my next feature, I came across a letter. 1965, illicit love affair.
I write these words with you in mind and my heart swells. I've known nothing like this before.
I don't know how I feel about my life.
You have the rich, handsome husband.
I will never be satisfied with just a part of you. We could be happy. So happy.
My husband wants us to return to London immediately.
What do you want?
I gotta ask, Bex, honestly, did you enjoy this?
No, right, okay, so this is a great Sunday afternoon movie, okay?
Okay.
Do you know what I did enjoy? I bloomin' loved the costumes of the 60s, and I couldn't really take my eyes off of it. I just really wanted to dress like Shailene Woodley and all this, and that was distracting me from the whole thing. Do you know what? It didn't quite keep my attention, if I'm honest. No. This is not a kind of me before you kind of film, and I don't know why, because with Me Before You, that is also Jojo Moyes, I'm pretty sure.
I think that is, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like with Emilia Clarke and Sam Claflin, and the story is more compelling than this. This one is slower. I didn't really care about the relationship between Shailene Woodley and Joe Alwyn. Alwyn?
Oh yeah, Alwyn. I think he's Alwyn. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, he would have been better off as the lover in that, rather than. I think he was kind of slightly miscast. Felicity Jones doing Felicity Jones, it's fine. It's going to have its audience, is what I'm going to say. I'm not necessarily its audience. And I do bloomin' well love a romantic, weepy, and, I love those kind of movies that are like The Fault in the Stars and like Me Before You and stuff. I can sit through these. This didn't capture my attention at all for some reason.
That's the thing, because it really feels like it's an attempt at like a Nicholas Sparks one. But the thing is, it is truly vomit-inducing. Like it's
your emojis. I thought you were lying with your emojis.
Oh God, this is the late Ben Cross's final movie. Ben Cross from Chariots of Fire. He's Sarek in the Kelvin timeline in Star Trek. Ben bloody Cross, and this is his final work. Wow, what a sour ending that is.
Yeah, and I think. You know what? This has come out on Netflix in the US.
Yeah, they dumped this out. Not even just in the US, in other countries as well. They just dumped this out on streaming 3 weeks ago.
So why we've got it cinematically, I'm not quite sure. I think this will find its audience on something like Netflix.
I think it's because of Jojo Moyes' name in this country. I think the prestige and fame surrounding it. Be like if J.K. Rowling, for instance, would play better in Britain. Bad example. She'd probably still play well in the US. Ian Rankin. Think about something like Ian Rankin. If something's based on an Ian Rankin book, you could probably sell that easier theatrically in the UK than you would anywhere else in the world, for instance, regardless of who was in it.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, I just think, look, guys, I don't think this is giving you anything new. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I think it kind of is.
Neither do I.
Yeah, I know you don't, but I think to round up, Sunday afternoon movie kind of picks this up. You can take it or leave it. You can have it on in the background. You'll kind of dip in and out of it, but it won't hold your attention.
I think my mum would like it.
Yeah.
I'll give you. I think my mum would enjoy it, and she likes a movie in which people in the 1950s sand boats. You know what I mean? They stand around on like Louisiana bayous, and they sand boats. She likes those kind of movies. You know the ones. Anyway, I've got to tell you about a very different, but somehow tenuously connected by story movie now that could not be further removed if you tried. This is bonkers. Do you remember Searching years ago with John Cho?
I think I do. You did tell me about it, and I was like, yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, that was the one that was all on a MacBook screen.
Yeah,
he was the dad whose daughter went missing, and he was investigating what happened to her, and he was all on the MacBook. And that process of filmmaking has now come to be called Screen Life.
Yeah.
Because there's a Modern Family episode that does it and things like that.
There was a horror movie as well.
Yeah. It helps. What was it called? Seance or what it was? Host. During lockdown, someone made it with Zoom, didn't they? Mm-hmm. A big cult hit. Now someone's made... Well, I think now, this was made in 2018 and for some reason has taken 3 years to work its way through the distribution cycle. This is another Screen Life thriller from Timur Bekmambetov, who most of us would actually know as the director of Everest from about 5 years ago. So I think this might actually be his directorial follow-up. It stars Valeen Kane. It's a British, it's sort of centered, sort of British set movie. all using Screen Life. She is a journalist who is trying to investigate the path. This is set in 2014, by the way, because the film opens by telling us that in 2014, there was an influx of British converts to Islam, young women who were seduced and enticed by ISIS leaders into effectively traveling all the way to Syria and becoming indoctrinated and being removed from their families, etc. So it's that story. She's setting out to investigate that, and she winds up making contact with one of these recruiters, who happens to be a very charismatic man named Bilal, played by Shahzad Latif, who is, I think, best known probably as Ash Tyler from Star Trek Discovery, the sort of love interest, the roguish, swarthish love interest who's also kind of a secret Klingon or whatever. But believe me, they're playing to a very specific archetype with this.
Okay.
And he basically starts to entice her, break her down without her realizing, and start to slowly captivate and enthrall this journalist who is doing all this whilst being watched by, like, her boss and the tech support team, as you'll hear in this clip.
Easy to use. Do you like guns? I'll give you plenty. Starting with this lovely Kalashnikov.
Kalash.
Kalash. Ne. Kov. Kalashnikov. When are you going to come to Al Sham?
Lou! Amy, I'm sorry. I'm running out of disk space. Just give me a minute. Just hang on.
Quick! Lou, how do I respond to the Syria question?
Okay, look. You can't travel alone as a respectable woman, so you should say that you need to be accompanied by a man. Someone like your cousin.
You're doing just great, but you need to get to the topic and figure out how they recruit the girls.
Okay.
We need to wrap up this investigation as soon as possible for your own safety.
Yeah, look, Amy, you just got to be careful. Look, the risk to blow your cover is huge.
So there are certain actors in the world who have mastered what I would call sleaze charm. And one of the kings, I'm sure you and I can agree on together, is mid-90s Antonio Banderas.
Oh, yes.
Antonio Banderas was, for a time, just the undisputed king of sleaze charm. He inherited it for a while from the likes of James Spader, for instance. Shahzad Latif has got that in spades, and he's bringing it. And he's bringing it to what can only be described as this sort of horror movie weaponized version of mid-90s Antonio Banderas. And this is all through a face, like a Skype window.
Yeah.
Literally a Skype. One of the quite impressive things about the film as well, actually, is that so many brands seem quite on board with the production of this, given the subject matter. They're willing to just let their companies be, Facebook in particular, prominently featured on the front of it. And you're sort of thinking, do your shareholders know that you're doing this? Because you do not come off well here. It's kind of like Amazon in Nomadland. But you wonder if they've realized. But this is great. You've got to see this, because it's just like this. In the same way that Searching was this very taut Screen Life thriller, this is almost like a Screen Life romantic horror thriller.
Yeah.
In a way. It's terrifying, and yet it's so gripping and so good. I genuinely think you'd love this.
Great. I might check it out. I mean, sometimes when you fall in love with a movie and it's kind of like horror, sci-fi, a little bit galactic, I'm a bit like, you might love that, but I'm not sure if I will love that.
The thing with this is you just sit there and think one of the really terrifying things about this film is you watch it, you sit and think like, because he takes you in, you get into his like sort of the horror movie villain thing that he's doing, and you're like, look at him winning this chick over. Like, oh God, he's winning this chick over. Oh no, like this actually happened to people. Oh God.
Yeah.
And it's horrifying to sit through, and yet on a narrative like horror movie level, you are really getting into it, and it's quite a disturbing film in that way.
Cool.
But it's all down to, I think, like, she's great, don't get me wrong, but he's the show stealer here.
Interesting. Okay, so that's Profile. So that's in cinemas this weekend.
That's in cinemas this weekend. We've actually got, I think, all four of them. All four of our new releases are cinemas only this week.
Well, cinemas are open, so...
Makes sense.
It does make sense.
Stay at home forever.
Well, there we go. But if you do want to stay at home forever and you don't want to go out to the cinema, stick with us, because when we come back, we've got all of your movies on the telly box for you. So we are going to keep you on the couch. Welcome back to Off Screen. We are, as I said, keeping you on the couch. Why wouldn't you want to be on the couch? Because it's probably this weekend not going to be great weather if you're listening
Is it
to
not?
us.
Oh, man.
No, yeah, if you're listening to us in the UK, then the Great British Summer is not great.
Do you know, we had a heat wave predicted. Good work, meteorologists. Honestly, God, you get what you pay for, don't you?
I know, right? But do you know what? I'm here to cheer you up because we could have picked a big old blockbuster for Saturday. We could have picked something, that for all you adults out there will just want to sit back, kick back, relax and enjoy. But no, we chose something that's on at 5 o'clock on 5 Star on Saturday. It's the age-old love story of Romeo and Juliet. I mean, I don't even really need to give you a synopsis, apart from the fact that the separation is a garden fence.
But that's the thing, isn't it? Because I feel like they've buried the lead on Romeo and Juliet. Because Romeo and Juliet was, it's Romeo and Juliet with garden gnomes. You're like, and it's computer animated. You're like, okay, cool. Like, and the entire soundtrack is Elton John songs. You're like, okay, there's the movie. That's what you lead with. That one there, that weird little detail. Yeah. Bring that up front next time. And this has also got Jason Statham in, hasn't it? Like I think it's
I enjoyed
James
Romeo
McAvoy
and Juliet.
Is it James McAvoy and Anne Hathaway?
It's something along those lines. Let me just double check that one for you. Yeah, James McAvoy. No, Emily Blunt is in that, and also Maggie Smith as well. And Michael Caine is in this. Matt Lucas. And Jason Statham. He's Tybalt in this.
Do you remember the days when Matt Lucas used to get all what are now called the James Corden roles? God, I miss those days.
Yeah, and I did have the misfortune of seeing the latest trailer for the Cinderella from Amazon Prime. And of course, not only does Camila Cabello probably not portray it in the right way as Cinderella, but we'll wait and see. It's kind of the Greatest Showman meets Cinderella. But then suddenly, of course, James Corden has to be one of the mice. It's like with Mice Footman. It's like, why? Why put him in? Like, just give someone else a chance.
I mean, given that she is the female face of Skechers currently, I can't say an unkind word against Miss Cabello, and I wish her only the best. Yeah. So, Romeo and Juliet, Saturday afternoon. Let's talk about Sunday. And I think this is on kind of early-ish, isn't it, as well? For Sunday afternoon.
For Sunday afternoon it is. So this is more like it, really. This is on E4 Sunday, 9 p.m. This is Baywatch. Need I say more? It's Baywatch.
What did we learn from the perps after the interrogation?
The only perps here are you three. Okay, you turned the canals into the goddamn X Games.
Yeah, that's because we were in lifeguard pursuits.
Oh, okay. My bad. Except for there's no such thing as lifeguard pursuit. Police do pursuits. When you do it, it's just some guys chasing some other guys. No offense.
None taken. Wait, what are you saying? You're just gonna let those guys walk?
Okay, how do I explain this so that you people understand?
You people? You people? Oh, you don't get to say that. You're just Dan.
I adore this movie, and I wish there had been 9 sequels. I mean, when they said they were going to make a Baywatch movie, which they said for a long, long time, I think we'd had something like 15 years at this point where they constantly threatened. It's like a Knight Rider movie. It's always like there in the ether. It just it might materialize. Yeah, it might materialize one day. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when at one point Ben Affleck was attached to do a Knight Rider movie.
Yeah.
Like, that happened at one point in history, and let's never forget that we were spared like Superman as Nicolas Cage. There's some weird things we almost saw in this world, but we always kind of knew with Baywatch that the only way to really do it was just to do kind of Starsky and Hutch / 21 Jump Street and just make it outright funny, just make it meta and go there, because otherwise you can't really do anything with Baywatch.
Yeah,
Baywatch itself didn't kind of do to death. I mean, Baywatch went on, how long was that, 13 years? Baywatch was at one point the most watched program.
1989 to 2001.
My God, that's about right.
That's some innings. Yeah.
It was. I think at one point it was estimated that Baywatch was watched weekly by more than 1 billion people on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And you and I, having been to Asia in the 1990s, can genuinely attest that is a worldwide truth.
Yes, it is, very much so. But do you know what? This movie, so you've got The Rock is Mitch Buchanan in it. And Zac Efron is Matt Brody in it as well. And you've also got Priyanka Chopra, who is Priyanka Chopra Jones.
Yeah, give her the full title, Missy, the full title. She earned it.
She's Victoria Leeds, who is essentially the baddie in this. But
and how good is she though? She's so good, right?
She's so good in this, right? And the thing is that this is kind of that stretch of films which Zac Efron was doing, like Bad Neighbours, and then this, where he really shows great comedic talent.
Yeah.
And and he can continue to do that. And I think this is kind of sits up there as one of the top ones. I've seen this once. I want to watch it again because I really enjoyed it. I'm not just saying that because of Zac Efron, running around being a lifeguard, but that's an added bonus. But I would say if you haven't seen it, don't look at it and go, oh, it's probably going to be rubbish, because who wants to rewatch Baywatch as a movie? It's genuinely very, very funny.
It is, isn't it? I remember I took my uncle. I actually arranged my uncle and his girlfriend to get tickets to the press show of this, and they went along, and he had no interest beyond like just the amusement of there's a Baywatch movie, and he came out afterwards and said, like, I'll be honest, that was actually really funny and enjoyable. And I just thought it'd be rubbish. And yeah, if you could win that guy over, believe me, you're all good. So on then, what else we got then? Monday, what have we?
Yeah,
you picked an actually interesting one for Monday night, actually.
Yeah, I picked a Nicole Kidman classic, which I'm quite pleased with myself for. But I picked To Die For, which is a 1995 film. It is on Talking Pictures at 9 p.m. on Monday, and so she basically plays a beautiful but naive, aspiring TV personality and films a documentary on teenagers that have a darker ulterior motive. Now, that is your general synopsis for this. And I kind of want to leave it at that because...
Yeah, I think for spoiler reasons, that kind of is. It's not the movie they marketed it as at the time. Because I remember this was the first Nicole Kidman vehicle, like, ever.
Yeah.
Post, and it was her first role post, like she got this out of Batman Forever, I think. Like she'd done Batman Forever and then they wanted to give her this as the big starring role. But the thing that it gets forgotten about for is this was kind of introducing Joaquin Phoenix, this little kid named Joaquin, who's brilliant in it.
Yeah, Casey Affleck's in this, Matt Dillon is in this as well. It's a great movie. It's one that if you haven't seen in a few years, revisit it. It also, I think, this is the kind of years for Nicole Kidman. This sort of launches her serious, darker side, the road to awards for her. And it kind of starts with this. So it's interesting that it comes off the back of Batman, because actually what that did was give her that launch pad to suddenly say, I'm going to pick some really clever roles from now on.
You remember the good old days when actors used to do that, when they would star in a blockbuster and then they would use the clout from that blockbuster to get that One For Me project.
Yeah.
And then that would in turn get them the Oscar nomination, that would get them the next blockbuster. And we would just repeat the process until we had a new Nicolas Cage. Like, man, I missed that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Me too.
To Die For is great. To Die For is absolutely great. 9 p.m. Talking Pictures Monday night. 9 p.m. ITV4 Tuesday night. A Bond film I watched last night, actually. It is 1997's Tomorrow Never Dies, which I will argue is the last time James Bond actually just gets straight up sent out on a mission, and without it having to be like a grand melodramatic action character, diatribe. It is James Bond versus Rupert Murdoch, with Pierce Brosnan and Jonathan Pryce, with Michelle Yeoh and Terry Hatcher caught in the middle. Do you know what? It's exactly the movie you'd expect of that concept in 1997.
I believe you once had a relationship with Carver's wife, Paris.
That was a long time ago, Em. Before she was married. I didn't realize it was public knowledge.
Queen and country, James. Your job is to find out whether Carver or someone in his organization sent that ship off course and why. Use your relationship with Mrs. Carver if necessary.
I doubt if she'll remember me.
Remind her. Then pump her for information. You'll just have to decide how much pumping is needed, James.
If only that were true of you and I, Moneypenny.
I could listen to Judi Dench, Dame Judi Dench's voice.
Dame Judi. Dame. You put that Dame on there.
I could listen to the Dench all day long. Like she is masterful. So that's Tomorrow Never Dies. That's on ITV4, 9 p.m. Moving on to Wednesday night, we've got Night at the Museum: The Secret of the Tomb on Film 4 at 4:50 p.m. And is this, I can't remember, is this the first one? Or is it?
No, The Tomb is the final one. This is the one with Rami Malek as the pharaoh, isn't it?
Yeah, okay. So in that case, apologies, I haven't seen this. I picked it because I thought it was one of the first two, but I haven't seen this one. But
I don't think this one's bad. I think this one has Amy Adams as Amelia Earhart. And I think this is actually not bad at all. I think this is the one...
They were all good, though.
They were all not bad, to be fair to them,
Yeah.
the Night at the Museum movies. They're fun family movies. But,
Yeah.
you know, if there's one on, they're always worth a watch at any rate. So this is for Wednesday night. Thursday night, a movie we've unfortunately not got time to go too far into, but is near and dear to my heart. It is on at 11:05 on ITV4, and it is Roger Donaldson's 1996 cinematic opus, Species, introducing Natasha Henstridge to the world. And this was like a really big deal when it came out. Like, they really tried to make a huge thing because they had H.R. Giger from the Alien series doing all the designs and everything. So it was a really big nerd moment that ultimately didn't go anywhere. I could talk about Species for days, but I'm not going to because what have we got for Friday night, Bex? It's always a showstopper.
What a showstopper this is. It's on Great Movies at 9 p.m. It's the classic. It's the one you always refer to. It's the bunny boiler. It's Fatal Attraction.
I'm pregnant. I'm going to have our child.
Alex, that's your choice, honey. That has nothing to do with me.
I just want to be a part of your life.
Oh, this is the way you do it, huh? Showing up at my apartment?
What am I supposed to do? You won't answer my calls. You changed your number. I mean, I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
Do you know what? I think when people watched this, particularly back in 1987 when it came out, it made them think twice about having a one-night stand, didn't it?
Oh, did you remember the line? There's the line in Sleepless in Seattle, isn't there, where Tom Hanks tells his kid in 1993, didn't you see Coming to America? It scared the ass out of it. Not Coming to America. Didn't you see Fatal Attraction? It scared the ass out of every man in America. You're like, yeah, that was kind of the case. But remember a time when like we all had like a monoculture and everyone saw the same one movie every year.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean,
this is a stone cold classic.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, your Friday night film, Michael Douglas, Glenn Close. I mean, you can hear it in that clip. The balance between his rage as he's getting more like, what are you doing? And she just keeps that calm, cold, cool, collective, and it's chilling.
She is terrifying, isn't she? Like,
Yeah.
there is a reason they spawned that term, the term bunny boiler, as I constantly love reminding people, because you'd have to be seriously menacing to make a term that ridiculous, you know, earn its way into the public lexicon. But Fatal Attraction's perfect way to end the week. Good choice, Miss Perfect.
Thanks.
Well, when we return then, we'll take it to streaming.
Welcome back for one last ride with Offscreen. So we are back giving you everything that is out now on streaming. So we've kind of got rid of DVDs and Blu-rays the last few weeks, haven't we? There's just none out.
Well, I think the pandemic kind of did that for us, really, because, like I said, we just ran out of movies. Tell a lie, there was one movie coming out on Monday. I think First Cow comes out on Monday, which was like a kind of a big deal with the hipsters and the movie crowd. I mean, I didn't wind up seeing it. I know Maria reviewed it for the Morning Star, so I was kind of spared having to see it, because there are movies like that where if I don't have to cover the Morning Star, I'm really not going to do them on here, obviously, because not really our demo.
Yeah. But there's still great stuff coming out on streaming. Some old, some new. So let's kick off with something old and very much Nicolas Cage. This is coming out on, this is coming out today, actually, on Disney+. Snake Eyes. Van, take us through this.
I couldn't believe I somehow managed to skip this last week when I was doing the streaming listings. And I saw it and I was so offended by myself that on behalf of Brian De Palma and Sir Nicholas of Cage, I had to right this wrong. And so from today on Disney Plus, none of the Premier Access nonsense, no, straight up OG Disney Plus, you can stream Brian De Palma's 1998 Snake Eyes, which this was Nicolas Cage's follow-up to. This was the next one in that chain that began with The Rock, and then went to Con Air, and then went to Face Off, and then was Snake Eyes, in which he took on it's almost quintessentially Brian De Palma-esque detective thriller set during a boxing match in a hurricane in Atlantic City. So they're in the casino.
The casino,
they're in the casino sort of arena as the hurricane's going on outside. So they're sort of fenced in. They can't get out. There's something dodgy going on with the boxing. There's then a political assassination in the fight in front of everyone. There are thousands of witnesses, but no one saw a thing. But Nicolas Cage has his theories in the form of the wily detective in the greatest outfit I have ever seen in a movie, named Rick Santoro. Here's him grilling the would-be ousted boxing champion.
That's it. Do you know who you reminded me of out there? Sonny Liston! Remember in 65 they said, hey Sonny, don't take any chances. Ali almost killed you the first time. Take the payday. First punch, you go down. Flop! Splat! That's you!
Detective,
That's you!
either arrest him or I'm going to ask you to leave.
What would I arrest him for? What would I arrest you for? Getting up too quick? What? What? Come on, I saw you and you saw me. And don't pretend like you don't know who I am, girly man. You want to look like a knockout, but when you heard the gunshot, your eyes were open in half a second. Now you're fall. Totally understandable reaction, but it kind of ruined the performance, don't you think?
Look, what the hell do you want from me?
Yeah, again, one of my old school favorites. You say you've seen this one, haven't you? You must have.
Oh, I must have done years ago, and all I can think of is, God, Nicolas Cage just loves his job, doesn't he?
Well, he winds up doing this again. Like a decade later, he does that remake, that Werner Herzog remake of Bad Lieutenant, where he winds up arguably playing pretty much this expanded into full psychosis, because this is a really dark character at times. This is Cage goes into it, I think, under the proviso that this is his Chinatown. You know, this is his Nicholson in Chinatown moment. And I will argue he does a pretty good job with it. It's kind of the quintessential Nicolas Cage role, although Bad Lieutenant being a decade later kind of steals its thunder a bit. But good fun.
Yeah.
Really good fun. There were some vintage Cageisms in there.
Yes. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so there we go. That's one big one on streaming. As of this weekend, like, again, if you're staying in, perfect for you. Let's also have a look at what's out actually next Friday. So we've got 3 picks for you. Where should we start with this? Should we start with the new one that's coming out next Friday, which is Beckett, which is out on Netflix on Friday the 13th.
So this is a strange one. I saw the trailer for this, like sight unseen, and had no idea what it was. I just knew it starred John David Washington, and he's an American traveling through Europe with his partner. They get separated, and he embarks on it looks like a Roman Polanski style mystery, like this twisty turny sort of psychological thriller. And it's a very mysterious film, but it's John David Washington, it's Netflix, it's a European director, it is this Polanski style. There's a lot sort of going for this. Like there's a lot of mystery that entices me to want to see just where this is going. So I'm pursuing this one for next week. I heartily recommend the same because, again, John David Washington, let's look at the lineage on that one.
Yeah.
We'll put Tenet aside.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's
not really his doing. I don't think he's that involved in that one. I don't think he got
as the protagonist.
Yeah, as the literal. I don't think he got much say in Tenet somehow. I would imagine that was pretty much a show up and say your lines, please, and then go home.
What was that one with Zendaya? I really liked it. Malcolm and Marie.
Malcolm Marie, how great is he in Malcolm Marie?
Yeah.
But again, it looks like that he's tapping into that well in this one, but doing it in this very specific sort of old school throwback return to genre, which I don't think we've seen really in a while. Yeah. But old-style throwbacks being the name of the game next week. I can't wait to watch Boss Level with you this next week, Bex. Oh my God, I've been dying to see this for 2 years.
This feels like it's got 8-bit goodness about it.
This is directed by Joe Carnahan, who gave us The Grey, The A-Team, Narc. Joe Carnahan almost gave us Bad Boys 3, actually. He was originally the director, I think, of Bad Boys 3. And he's basically got this buddy-buddy sort of bromance professional friendship thing going with Frank Grillo now, where they set up their own label together and they just make action movies. They just make stripped down, cool concept action movies. This one stars Grillo, obviously, but also has Mel Gibson as its villain, hence the old school throwback angle and the 8-bit retro logo. The idea here is Frank Grillo is some sort of badass mercenary who every single day wakes up in his apartment with armed teams of guys in tactical gear breaking in and murdering him. And because he's now and then he dies and he wakes up and he goes through it all over again. And he just does this and does this and does this. He's Groundhog Day with SWAT teams, for lack of a better term, with armed mercenaries. And every
feels
single
like a video game.
That's it. And that would purposefully be, hence the clever title.
Yeah.
It looks like it's got a lot of meta commentary in its concept, though, which I'm quite happy about. They do seem to lean into and heartily embrace the it's like a video game angle, which I think Edge of Tomorrow tiptoed around a little bit, if you remember.
Yeah.
But this I think is going full tilt with it. It's just having Grillo and Mel Gibson face off is something I'm genuinely intrigued. I'd like to see them actually do face off, because I think that'd be hilarious.
Yeah,
but just to see them face off is going to be great. But it's not the weirdest film we can talk about next week. I'm about to do the impossible, Bex. I am going to try and justify a 2002 Rob Schneider movie to you.
Yeah. This is going to be the impossible. Go on then.
Right, so it's called The Hot Chick. And recently this came up because we were talking about Freaky. Remember Freaky? We were talking about Vince Vaughn doing the body swap with, in that case, it's Catherine Newton. And it was played very much in the vein of this exact movie, which is Rob Schneider, I think is like a homeless alcoholic, played entirely for laughs because it was 2002, who swaps bodies with a then unknown Rachel McAdams, who is like a vacuous bimbo. This is so long ago that Rachel McAdams still played vacuous bimbos. Unironically,
it's pre-Mean Girls.
Pre-Mean Girls, when she knew how to do it ironically. She was just playing, And her best friend here is played by Anna Faris, who at that point had only just begun to break out with Scary Movie, because Scary Movie had started to slowly filter out internationally, because back then we still had staggered release dates. Like Scary Movie was out for a year, overseas before it came out in the UK, for instance. So Anna Faris's fame took a minute to set in, and while that was happening, she went and did this. And it's the kind of body swap comedy you only get to pull off tonally if you specifically cast Rob Schneider opposite Anna Faris.
You stay away from me! I have pepper spray on my keychain!
April, I need you so bad right now. You have no idea.
How do you know my name?
It's me! Jessica! I'm in here!
What did you do with her?
I feel like, so Rob Schneider is like... is for people of a certain vintage to get this humour. You can't introduce this to a new audience now. This is not going to work.
I think in the same vein as showing like a Gen Z person white chicks now, this sort of plays in a very amusing. It is like watching an archaeological relic.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. I just watched the trailer. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to watch this again. This is different. So this is on Disney Plus, hilariously enough.
I know. What?
Disney Plus from Friday the 13th. Boss Level, by the way, is new to Amazon Prime next Friday the 13th, and Beckett's due to Netflix. We will, I think, try and review Beckett and Boss Level next week, along with Free Guy, and I'm sure there's another one we can find that means we don't have to talk about Paw Patrol the movie, because they won't. They hate me so much they actually won't subject me to Paw Patrol the movie, which is a level of hate I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I think Hot Chick, as a throwback, damn, they actually used to make movies that said these things. Like, wow, okay, yeah. It's interesting that it exists on Disney Plus. Also, Song of the South doesn't, but read into that what you will.
Yeah, gosh, well, what a way to end the show with something that might get piquing people's interest in terms of thinking back to yesteryear of film. I do think I stand by it. Rob Schneider of a certain vintage, let's just say, and there's probably a reason why he's not really working nowadays.
Because culture caught up to him. That's why.
Yeah. Exactly. But he had his time. This has been a real kind of bonkers selection this week. I'm really looking forward to next week as well. I think Free Guy, everyone is buzzing about Free Guy. You're seeing
almost a fantasy.
Yeah, you're seeing it. Oh, nice. You're seeing it tonight, right?
I'm seeing it tonight, and you're doing the proper press show. You're doing the grown-up press show, aren't you?
I'm doing the grown-up press show next week.
Yeah.
So we will give you your thoughts on that. We'll also try and talk about Beckett as well, and we'll have some more other great stuff for you as ever each and every week. So for now, though, this has been Off Screen. This has been our pleasure, and I've been Becks Perfect.
And I've been Van Connor, and we shall return.